Welcome to Movie Lounge. I'm your host, Stephen Wassling, and today we're going to talk about two things, and that is 4K and 3D. Not all in the same thing, but separate questions. And it was mentioned by James. What do you feel about 4K, and where do you see it going? Now, 4K is a very interesting topic because it's become very popular. It's the new thing that's in. There's 4K TVs, 4K theaters, 4K Blu-ray players, and also 4K cameras. And I'm fine with 4K. I have no problem with it. If done right, it makes it all nice. But the whole backstory behind 4K is for the technical side. Like, for example, if you take two 1080p or 1080 quality TVs and put them together looking like a much bigger TV, one stacked on each other, next to each other, then that becomes 4K. It's 4 times the resolution of what 1080 is. Now, what the smart way to do, and some people don't do this because they think, oh, you have 4K, boom, it's all better. Not necessarily. When you film in 4K, you're able to actually crop down the resolution to 1080 to make it better. So the 1080 will look better. And what I mean is, when someone films, let's say I go film a action movie or any type of genre, and I film it in 4K, I'm able to do it in post, is color correct and do all that stuff and crop it down. It's a much bigger frame. It's much bigger. The resolution is wider, so I have more room to work with. When I'm done color correcting and done doing everything in post, I am able to actually crop it down to 1080, reduce the resolution. It's still the same resolution. It's just condensed down to 1080, and that way 1080 looks way better. And you see that with a lot of films. A lot of major studios will do that. They will film things in 4K, 6K, now I think it's like 9K. They'll film everything in higher resolution to get more out of that frame. More color, more of everything. And then when they're in post, they can actually go in and fix everything, color correct everything, and then just condense it down. Crop it down to 1080. Because most of everyone in the household will see everything in 1080. 4K right now, 4K TV, it's kind of pointless right now for me because I feel like it's pushing that. It was when like 3D pushed this whole 3D TV. It's terrible. 3D TV is stupid. And it's kind of the same way with 4K. You need more things, more wires, more HDMI, the new stuff, to plug it all in to make it actually work. And you're not really getting the true 4K as what you would imagine. Now in theaters, some theaters will actually play in 4K and it's so big that it looks like 1080, but really it's 4K. And they'll say, some theaters will say shown in 4K, those are specially done projectors that are shooting that at 4K. So I hope that answers your question about 4K. I have no problem with it. I think it's cool. I think the whole process of cameras pushing resolution all the way up to, I think like the Red Epic is doing like 9K or something like that. One of the Red cameras are doing a 9K resolution. And we don't have the process and the computers and everything to do something of higher than 4K. We can do 4K editing, no problem. It's just we just don't have the technology for 6K and 9K to do all that stuff. So that is that question. And the next question comes from Stephanie, and she asks, what are your thoughts on 3D? Is it worth doing now that 3D has become kind of just a back burner deal? 3D is still big. It's not as big as it used to be, but it's more of, I think, if you do it in the right way. And for example, if I think it was Transformers. Shoot, I think it was like Transformers 3 and not Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and a few other movies. There are two different ways of doing 3D. It is post 3D, which is actually not the right way to do, or true 3D, where you get a camera that is built for 3D. That means two lenses put together, because you have a right and a left lens, which means your eyes. You have your right eye and your left eye, and if you put them together, you have a 3D image. And it's interesting because doing post 3D, it's hard because you have two of the same images overlaying each other like this. And then you have to kind of go in and then fix it all and then make it look 3D, and it's a very tedious and headache type deal. I've done it before and I don't like it because it strains on my eyes and gives me a headache, and I can't, it's just too much. I've done true 3D and it's a whole different deal because it's all shot in 3D. Now, the other thing is you have to also consider that it takes about 3 seconds or so for your eyes to actually get used to 3D. That's why in Transformers 3, there were shots that were longer, and that's why that movie was so long, is they take the shots a little bit longer because they want your eyes to get used to it, and those shots are specifically for 3D. That's the other thing. You have to, if you're going to shoot in true 3D, you have to set the film up, or commercial, or TV show, or whatever you're filming, to be 3D. You have to actually take it in a different route because you have to put the camera in a different angle for 3D to work. If I do it like straight on, I'm not going to get the 3D depth. I'm going to get behind me, yes, I'm going to get a little bit of 3D, but you're not going to get the full front shot to be 3D. Now, if you slant it a little bit like how I have the camera now, if you put the camera slanted sideways a little bit, you're going to get more of a depth because it's angling it at a certain way to push out the image into a 3D way. That's how you do 3D. It's a much longer process of doing it because you have to actually know what you're doing. If you want it into true 3D, if I want, let's say, an action scene, I need to make it a little bit longer so I can get the full effect. Now, if I do in post, it's just not the same. You're doing it a little bit different. Now, I've seen some 3D movies that are done in post that are actually okay. I can't remember those movies. Well, I think actually Thor was decently okay in 3D. I didn't have a problem with that. Avatar was great in 3D. Then when you watched it in 2D, it was the dumbest movie I ever saw. So yeah, there are some good movies that are done well in 3D if it's specifically for 3D. I saw The Hobbit in 3D, and actually I loved it because I can tell that they actually done it. I like Transformers 3 in 3D because of the way they shot it. I have no problem if it's done right. If it's not done right, it's kind of strenuous. So those are the questions that I have for today. And if you have any more questions or you want to submit your own questions, you can submit it at the email, themovielounge15@gmail.com. Or you can go onto the link on the website or Twitter account or Facebook page. You can answer your questions or start a topic on the questions. But yeah, that's the gist of it. Yeah, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you guys on Monday. All right, thanks.